Good evening, Facebook family and YouTube family. Brian and I would like to apologize for coming to you late tonight. We've had a lot going on today. Brian's been on another conference tonight. I won't disclose what he was on a conference about because they may be watching. So I would like to say, on behalf of Brian, I will apologize for our tardiness. Yeah. And he will apologize as well. But what we want to get into tonight is something very interesting. And I've been hearing from a lot of people, and so has Brian. And last night we had a Zoom meeting of my class, of my high school graduation class. And I'm a class of the early 80s. I won't disclose the year. But for those of you that know, you know. We were discussing what is going on with the mass exodus of the church in the African American community. Mm-hmm. It is astounding to see the number of young adults and youth that are not attending church. I'm not the only one that knows this. I welcome anyone's opinion that may be listening tonight. And I would also love to hear your opinion on this. And if anyone else has noticed it. I also see that we're trying to do a lot of things to pull our youth back into the church and to pull our young adults back. I've had several propositions coming to me as to why they have left. Because I ask. And I have young adult children as well. I'm not going to disclose what they're doing at this time. That's their personal business. But I do know that there is a mass exodus of young adults and youth in the church. So I'm going to put that out there and say, Brian, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think, we have to ask the essential question first before you really talk about a mass exodus from the church. You really have to define what the church is. And when you define what the church is, then you can better actually discuss, why is it that young people are fleeing, the social structure that we have labeled the church. Okay. When we look at the overall definition of what a church is, church is normally defined by a group of people that come together that espouse the same beliefs system, that also follow the same doctrine and tenets as it relates to governing their lives. Okay. So whenever you have a group of people that are meeting together in reference to those basic foundational principles that they feel like is necessary in order to be successful, if you will, in order to exemplify a certain spirituality as it relates to who they are as an individual, then you answer the question as it relates to, why some young people are involved and why young people aren't involved. I would say that a lot of young people feel like there's a disconnect between those that are actually in the church, be it if they are elders or not. They feel that there's a social disconnect within the structure of the church now and the foundation of the church. A lot of times that happens because those that are elders in the church fail to reach out to the young people and to get them involved from a standpoint of making them feel like they play a role in the progress and in the continuation of what we know as the church today. Okay, so that would be my very short answer as it relates to your question concerning the church.
Do you think that social media is playing a role. Maybe more people are finding comfort in the confinements of their home, privately watching their church preference or their Christian beliefs.
I think that social media definitely has played a role in the absence of people physically traveling to a building today. Quite naturally, if you could stay at home in the comfort of your own home and practice what you believe as it relates to your particular faith, spirituality, belief system, and also you can participate in certain rituals of the church as well and not have to go to the building, then absolutely social media has played a big role in that absence as it relates to not only young people, but just people in general that were at one time frequently going to the church. Also, social media has its advantages for the elderly that cannot come if their church has a web site.
Yes.
Where they can broadcast live.
Yes.
And the elder members can view that webcast live.
Yes.
Then that is definitely a plus, for them. So there are multiple reasons that we have seen, people not actually frequenting the church on a normal basis like they were, before the pandemic.
Yes.
And also before social media.
Right.
Okay.
Definitely.
So I would say, yes, social media has played a role. I would have to say to that, what I think about when it comes to that is, when you look at the Bible says, forsake not the gathering of yourselves. Is it important to have that in-person fellowship as opposed to the webcast or the Zoom conference? Or how important, and I think that's what we have to come back to, how important is the actual physical gathering and the being able to fellowship with one another in person, face to face, to touch one another, to actually be able to look in one another's eyes, to experience one another. How important is that in the church today? And do we really believe that is necessary in order for, the so-called church? And like I said, the church is defined as a body of believers that are gathering, believing the same thing, the same tenets, the same doctrines, principles, so on and so forth. How important is it to the survival of the structure of what we call the church today?
I think it's very important to the survival of it, Brian, because without the physical building and the people gathering in the building and coming together in the building, that's why a lot of churches have closed.
Yeah, and good point. Churches are closing every day. Granted, I think there are, in the Black community, there was a survey done that churches in the African American community outnumber other ethnic persuasions 30-1.
Wow.
30-1. What does that mean? That means that the old cliche that there's a church on every street corner in the Black neighborhood comes into fruition. Okay? I think the dilemma that we face, Janice, as it relates to when you're looking at Black people in the church and Black people exiting the church, the dilemma that we face is we've got churches on every street corner, but we have to ask the question, what is the church doing as it relates to benefiting our community? if the community doesn't see a benefit in the so-called church in the black community, then they will feel like there's no need to support it.
I agree.
So what we have is we have, a structure, a foundation that really is one of the pillars of survival for black people in America, slowly eroding because what it was established to do, it is not functioning in that capacity anymore. So when we look at the foundation and the origin of the black church was created out of adversity and oppression. The black church was created as a support structure for those that were being oppressed under a taskmaster's whip. Okay? So the black church was born out of the concept of being able to organize a group of people in order to overcome oppression and to still be able to function in a way to where they themselves presented their civility. Okay? They themselves counted themselves as worthy, respectful, and dignified human beings. Okay, so when we look at the organization of the black church was one that fought against what we know today as oppression and slavery. The black church was born out of the concept of rebelling against those things that were evil and wicked. So now there is a subtle, like I said, erosion when it comes to the church, and the exiting that you're seeing is because the church is now so far disconnected from the community. The community doesn't feel like they have a role in the church anymore. Okay? Even if we go back as short as 50 years ago, even if we go back to the civil rights struggle, when you look at the black church during the civil rights era, the black church played an important part when it came to organizing people to stand against the oppression at that particular time of those that were still operating under the banner of Jim Crowism, of those that were still operating under the banner of an oppression of, when you go back to the Dred Scott decision. Okay? To where the black man have no rights that the white man is bound to respect. Those that were still operating under those type of cloaks and those types of, pseudo laws in Jim Crowism that oppressed black people without the chains. You understand what I'm saying? The church was the establishment that rose up and said, no, we're going to organize against this type of oppression in our community, and we're going to continue to support our own. So out of those movements came, ministries such as food, clothing, shelter ministries. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Out of that was born boycotting. Out of that was born another form of protesting. Call it marching. So many things. And then on the other side of that, when you talk about black spirituality, black liberation theology, also that was being taught at that time. When you talk about Black Power movement, you had religious organizations at the forefront. When you look at the Nation of Islam and the way that they protested, as opposed to the civil rights movement at the same time, and how the SCLC may have protested, they were diametrically different from each other, but yet they were both effective and they were both spiritual movements. Okay. and offered black people something that was tangible,
Okay.
that they felt like we need to be a part. We cannot not be a part
Of the church.
of the church,
Okay.
because this is the vehicle that is being used to liberate us, to bring the issues of our community to the forefront, to put it before the nation. Okay, so I think the church itself has lost its luster, because when you, and just, what we're talking about with those movements, you saw young people
Yes. At the forefront.
at the forefront of those movements. Okay, you saw young people filling the classrooms of the church,
Yes.
to learn about what they need to do as it relates to civil disobedience, all of those things. We saw young people take the lead.
Yes.
Okay? They wanted to be involved in the liberation of their community.
Yes.
So I submit today that one reason we see that disconnect is because the church has gotten away from those things. Okay? The church has gotten away from making young people feel important and feel that they still have a role to play, not only in the social restructuring and the social reformatting and refoundating of our community, but they also play an important role in passing it on,
Yes.
to the next generation,
Yes.
coming after
That
them.
is where your elders come in. They're the ones that should take that baton and pass it on. And I think a lot of your elders feel so safe and comfortable, and they've been in there so long that they're just not willing to move out of the way, if I can say it that way. Or
Listen, the elders don't have to move out the way. What the elders should focus on is teaching those that are coming behind them, okay, with a spirit that is one that is loving, one that is kind, and one that
non-judgmental.
one that says this, that says that I want to pass the baton on to you so that you can carry on. Okay. Anytime you have an elder that doesn't have a successor, okay, to carry on the fight, there's a problem. And whenever we have elders that are so self-righteous that they feel like the church cannot function without them, then you have a problem. Because, see, young people are not going to come in and tolerate elders disrespecting them when everybody else on the outside of the church is disrespecting them. They're not going to come into a place where they feel like they're not appreciated, and that is no different from the place they're coming in from the outside.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have to, as when we call people of God, those that call themselves the church, those that make the declaration that they are Christians, we have to reinvent ourselves, not as it relates to our foundation and our belief. That if that is solid, that is solid. Okay, we don't move from that. But how we interact with young people, how we communicate with our young people, how we make them feel as it relates to what gifts they have that they can offer to the church. How do we embrace them when they come in and say, I want to do this, or this is my vision? How we guide them. All of those things are important. And when you start picking and choosing who to come in, who not to come in, when you start objecting to this and that, and not letting those young people express themselves, and then give them guidance in their expression, when you start doing those things as opposed to what we just talked about, you're going to have a problem. You're not going to have them wanting to follow you or wanting to be a part of something that seems to be opposed to who they are and what they have to bring to the table. Okay?
I agree.
So,
and something else, we have to show them love outside of the church. You know, so many times the youth come into the church, the young people come in, and and you have the elders and the people that are seasoned in the church showing one side of themselves within the church, the confinements of the church. And when you see those same people outside of the church, you see a total different person. And that is another thing, that the youth, nobody's forcing them to go to church. Like when we were growing up, your parents and your grandparents says, you're going.
But nobody loves a hypocrite. No. See, let me tell you, pastors have got to stop lying. Okay?
Ooh,
that's how simple that is. Okay. Pastors have got to stop lying. Deacons have got to stop lying. Trustees have got to stop lying. Okay? People are afraid to say this, but I'm not. As a church leader, we have to stop lying to our youth and to our young people. We have to stop pretending, take off the mask, okay, and start being real with our young people. Pastors get up into the pulpit every Sunday, and the only thing they want to do is entertain. They don't really want to tell young people what they need to do and how to overcome adversity and to sit down with them to understand exactly what's going on with them. They're more concerned about preaching a good sermon than they are really helping somebody. Okay, so these are the hard truths that we have to face. They are not exemplifying what it is as it relates to being able to properly judge with love and properly correct with love, to where that young person says, no, I want to be around him. He may have been a little bit hard on me, but he identifies with me. Yes. I get it. You understand what I'm saying? And the elder gets that young person. We have to start being real. See, young people don't want to be around fakes and phonies. They don't want to come into a place that promotes themselves as this utopia of grace, and this utopia of so good and so righteous. And then on the outside, they hearing about your dirt, they seeing your dirt, they looking at your family. So young people are noticing everything that's not good about the church. Okay, so the bad is always going to be amplified over the good.
Yes, it is.
As it relates to the people that make up this so-called church. Okay, so once you take the mask off and you become a real person to that person that you're wanting to help. Okay, and we got to stop looking at people as a ministry. Everything now, this is how religious we are. We become religiousized and not spiritual.
Right, Brian.
Everything now, we look at people, all marriage ministry, family ministry, youth ministry, prison ministry. We got all of these substitutes. Why can't they just be people? Okay, we do that self-righteously. I want to work with families. I want to work with you. I want to work with prison. Why can't we just all come together and say, okay, sister, brother, whatever your gift is, you go to work. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever your gift, this is how we divide this from a standpoint of making it whole again. Okay, let's cut out the divisions as it relates to all these ministries. Let's have one collective ministry, and then let's see what everybody is gifted to do. And whatever you are gifted to do, if you have a gift in real estate, if you have a gift in finances, if you have a gift with being able to counsel young people, let's have one collective umbrella where we deal with the many facets of our people. You understand what I'm saying? Now you take out whenever you have people involved in church, you're always going to have the issue of jealousy being there.
Yes.
You're always going to have the issue of cliques forming. But how you deal with that is by holding everybody accountable under the same collective umbrella. Now, we may have different jobs under this umbrella, but we all hold each other accountable. You understand what I'm saying?
And we operate as one.
We operate as one. Okay? Sister, if you have a gift that you want to go to Tutwiler once a week, by all means.
Please do. You know,
and bring the report back to the collective group so that everybody can rejoice, so that we all feel involved. See, I can get involved even though I may not go to Tutwiler. If you say, I need some programs printed up and I have a gift as it relates to publication and marketing, then I can say, oh, sister, I got your back on that. She's letting the collective know. You understand what I'm saying? So if you need finances as it relates to some of the things you want to do and see done with some of the women, or even if it's a battered women's shelter or a children's, then you could bring it back to the collective and say, this is what we need. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. We have to take the divisions out of church. Okay? I will say this, and we take it as we may, but the black church wasn't divided like that. That is a Johnny-come-lately in the black church. All of those divisions and sectioning offs of different ministries here and there, and everybody doing their own thing, this and that, and you got this little clique that call themselves the marriage ministry. You got this little clique calls themselves the prison ministry. You got this little clique call themselves the nursing home ministry. That was not a part of the formation of the black church in its inception. That is a Johnny-come-lately in the black church as grant fundings became available through federal government, to faith-based organizations that were 501c3 nonprofit organizations. Okay, and in order to tap into some of those grant fundings, we began to divide ourselves in the church organization.
So it was about finances. It was about money.
It's about money from an aspect of being able to get a lump sum.
Okay, more funding
to work with certain groups.
Yes.
Okay, so that's when the designations actually began to really come in and infiltrate the black ministry. Okay. But we have to, like I said, number one, we got to start being honest with ourselves. When we're in the church, leaders have to start being honest with themselves. Okay. We cannot continue to put up a facade and expect somebody that we're trying to get to believe what we believe to come in and accept what we believe when we fake. Young people not doing that today. They're not playing those games. Okay, and unfortunately, because the foundation of the church is eroding, and it has become more of a social club than it is a spiritual haven where people come and really truly get helped, and where that spiritual haven makes its community better and infiltrate its community with such power and such force and such magnetism that the community all come up together. Okay. Unfortunately, the church is not there. That is not where the black church is now. The black church now is really in a struggle with itself.
Yes, definitely. I agree.
We have lost our identity as relates to who we are in spirituality. We have become politicized and religiousized above being spiritualized. Okay? And whenever you have materialism, politics, and religion to supersede the well-being of a community, you will have a community that will continue to decline. That's exactly right. And continue to lose self-respect, self-dignity, and self-love.
And that's where your pride comes in.
Yeah, and that is where our community sits today in relationship to the black church. Okay?
Wow.
Like I said, 30-1 means that the cliche is true. There's a black church on every street corner in a black community, but yet the black community continue to go down. Those that are in the church, that are coming up, okay, that are doing well, they are not acknowledging, okay, the mistakes that are being made to not deal with the erosion of our community. They are so caught up into the fanfare of the church that they don't really see the blight of the community. You understand?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and I think that is unfortunate as well. Okay. Blight is all around the so-called church. Okay. Those of us that recognize it, those shout out to those that are trying to do something about it. We have to continue to connect with one another, those that have one mind, one spirit, that really want to see the community help. And we have to we have to become creative again, and we have to employ ingenuity on another level now in order to reach our young people and to help our young people. Okay? Because we could blame it on the devil. That's a cop-out to me. It's a poor excuse because we'd rather blame it on the devil than blame it on
ourselves.
That's exactly right. Who the problem really is. And it's not the devil, it's us.
It's us.
You understand what I'm saying? It's us that's in the church shouting, dancing, falling out, foaming at the mouth, preaching a good sermon, riling the people up, and then we're not going out there and doing anything.
But sometimes, Brian, people get so emotionally caught up in that they honestly, they can't see what's actually happening. It's like you said, a lot of it's entertainment.
There's a difference between can't see and don't want to see. A lot of them don't want to see it. It's blatant ignorance. It's blatant ignorance. They are purposely ignoring. It's not that they can't see. Okay? When you see, your eyes don't lie to you, right?
Right.
Or maybe they do. You go out there and you see your community eroding, and blight is all around you, and you say, okay, eyes, I know it looks bad, but it's not really bad.
It's not really that bad.
So now you saying that your eyes are lying. Okay, so let me put it. So what we need to do is ask the question: What are the lying eyes of the church saying to you? Okay, we have to really ask that question. We have to really take a deep dive and say, hold up, something is wrong. Okay? But it's not just all social media that's stopping people from coming into the building anymore.
But young people are finding enough, because we lost them some time ago. I don't know exactly when we started losing them. They are finding other ways to connect with their own spirituality other than going into the church.
I agree. Listen, We don't want to admit it. For those of us that was raised up in the church, like you say, grandma took us to church, mama made us go to church on Sunday.
Yes.
We don't want to admit that there are other ways of spiritual expression that may be more acceptable to young people than they are to us. That's the bottom line. Okay. If that is the case, I'm okay with that. Now, this is where we fail. Where we fail is when we start rejecting what their spiritual expression is that also keeps them from coming to share with me in my spiritual expression. See, you cannot ostracize one group over the other. You cannot make your belief, your practice, your faith better than anybody else's belief, practice, or faith.
That's right.
See, let me tell you something. The unique gift about Marcus Messiah Garvey was that he connected all faith groups of black people together. And his message was, we all serve the same God. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you're Baptist, you're Protestant, you're Catholic, you're Muslim, you Abyssinian Baptist. It doesn't matter. Marcus Messiah Garvey figured it out. We do not ostracize, brothers and sisters. One thing that we have in common is that our God is a black God, no matter what practice you have as it relates to that God. I respect it. You respect mine. And guess what? He built the greatest organization that the United States have ever seen, to the point to where Edgar Hoover said, I got to take that person out of the equation. Because he's building a black nation within a nation. He had created that.
Yes, he had.
You understand what I'm saying? But he was super intelligent. He understood that we do not object to one another's expressions of faith. We're all trying to get to the same place. And guess what? Eventually, we're all going to find out that we're serving the same God.
That's it.
So Marcus Messiah Garvey was smart enough to do that. I submit today that we cannot isolate young people if they say they believe a certain way. Fine. I don't have a problem with the way that. Let's meld what we got together as it relates to what we can identify with concerning each other. How can I help you in this area if you're falling short? You understand what I'm saying? How can I lift you up in this area? How can you lift me up in this area if we're falling short? It cannot all be about my faith being better than your faith. See, that is the oppression of the enemy. The enemy taught black people to reject any other spiritual system if it wasn't the one that they taught them. Now catch that. So your oppressor taught you to reject anything that wasn't like what they taught you.
Wow. Okay.
So what essentially they're doing, they're teaching you to automatically reject your people. Why? Because you had the most diverse spiritualities in all the world. Started with the African people. So see, this thing was strategic with what they did by assimilating us into their faith practice. Okay? We had great men like Richard Allen. I even look at Mother Harriet Tubman, who went against the grain and understood the importance. Richard Allen being the AME founder. You understand?
Yes.
That refused to be labeled second class and not allowed to worship in the same sanctuary as his European counterpart. So he said, well, we'll start our own practice.
Right.
And we'll get our own building.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Smart enough to realize that the way you practice, I'm not going to let it prohibit what I want to practice.
Yes.
And who I want to practice it with. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
we have to get back to that type of,
And that's how we're losing.
that type
is
of
how
power,
we're losing them.
and that type of love and that type of consistency amongst each other. To reject one another in times like these based off of a belief not lining up with yours, when you really don't know whether or not yours is true or not, because truth is subjective and truth is also relative.
That's right.
Okay? Truth is what may be true to you may not be true to somebody else. You understand?
But it doesn't mean
so
that my truth is not true to me.
for us to reject those people based off of them not believing the way we do is totally in error to what we know as being spiritual. But we were taught to reject, we were taught to act as our oppressors act. Okay? That is one problem in the black church that have made the black church now a place of repudiation, a place where cliques continue to develop.
It's division.
Okay?
Division.
A place where it is more of a social day club and not a place of a spiritual haven. So we have to start dealing with all of those things. And if we don't deal with them, it's because we refuse to be honest with ourselves as it relates to the degradation that we are participating in when it comes to our community and when it comes to the church as it relates to our community and the role that they are playing. Okay? So those are things that we really have to start taking into account and start being accountable and responsible for.
And we can, it doesn't hurt to ask someone, the youth. Ask them, when you're seeing that they're no longer coming to church, and you know that they grew up in that particular church, and you feel like that they're not going anywhere. It's okay to ask them, there's a way to approach them.
Why do you need to ask them? Why do you ask them? Listen, you got to get out of the mundane way of what we're talking about, witnessing and things like that. Okay? What you need to do is connect a person to you and they'll follow you. You don't need to ask them anything. I mean, if you know them and you understand, they'll tell you eventually. We got to start connecting to people. You understand what I'm saying? When this is where the church is constantly failing. Okay? Constantly failing. The whole concept of making a disciple is being able to connect a person to yourself. When you connect that person to yourself, they will follow you wherever you go. So guess what? When that is the case, it doesn't matter really where they were going, where they're not going anymore. It doesn't matter. When you show a person that your interest is in their well-being,
they will follow you.
Okay? And that you love them and that you want to help them, that you want to make them a better person, they will follow you. Why? Because their mind will say, this person portraying this to me, doing this for me when nobody else has done it, whatever they are learning this from, I want a part of it. I want to be a part of it. You understand what I'm saying? That is the more effective way.
But you have to connect with them. You have to find a way to connect with them.
Well, you connect with them just by seeing a person on the street, right? You talk to people every day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the same thing.
And a lot of them, we work with them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You work with people. You got friends that you meet. Let's look at it like this. You and I have friends that are not in church, that are not going to church right now.
Exactly.
Why? Because they feel that the church has rejected them. Okay? They feel that there's no love in the church anymore. the church is not really concerned about them. All the church wants is their little 10%, their tithe, so they're not going to go. We have friends that feel like that.
Yes,
so
we do.
what we have to do is we have to connect our friends to us. We have to show them what they're missing in the church. You understand what I'm saying? If we do that, then ultimately they will want to be where we are. Okay? How are we getting better? We're getting better in this place because this place is dealing with some of the issues that a lot of other places don't deal with. You understand? A lot of other churches don't deal with it. And then that leads from one thing to another. Now you're building stair steps. Okay? You're building those blocks of trust. And you're reconnecting, you're putting back in place what was torn down.
You know, Brian, I want to ask this question, and I've heard it asked so many. I hear it being said so much. I'm almost beginning to think some people just using it loosely. Mm-hmm. Just like, people saying, oh, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. Now the term is, oh, I'm spiritual. I'm spiritual. Mm-hmm. So in your terms, help me to better understand when people say that they're spiritual. What are they? What is spiritual to you? What is it?
See, listen, spirituality, when you go back and you look at the whole concept of spirituality, it defines a person that is connected universally to the creative source or power, what we call God of the universe, and that understands the balance of life as it relates to its connection to nature. Okay? Now, that's me giving it to you in very simple layman terms. Spirituality. When a person says that I'm a spiritual person, it means that they are sensitive, obedient to universal laws that govern not only all mankind, but govern the galaxies that exist, governs universes, okay? They are laws that are in place that are unbreakable, meaning that they are laws, whether you like them or not, you cannot stop universal laws from happening. If you throw something up, the law of gravity,
it's going to bring it down,
pulls it back down. Mm-hmm. One example, okay? They are people that are conscious and aware of that. And they connect the balance of life to the laws that governs all things, be it nature. Okay, let's look at it when you talk about spirituality in nature. Balancing nature, the respect for water. One respect of water means that I don't pollute a source that is given in relationship to my living. Your body is made up of what?
Water.
90%
water.
Water. Mm-hmm. So I don't disrespect something that is part of my existence. You understand what I'm saying? Very, very simple. We make spirituality something that it is not. And now spirituality has become a cliche for not going to church. If you don't go to church and you don't respect nature, you don't have a respect for yourself, you don't respect God, then you can't say that you're spiritual. See, it's become very cliche-ish as well. Yes. Okay? Yes. And very faddish. For those people that don't want to participate in anything, don't want to believe in anything, but yet want to say that I'm not like those church folks. No, you're exactly like those church folk. Okay? You just use different wording to describe what you say you're not like. But in context, you are exactly like them. Okay? So spirituality, we cannot make it cliche-ish. It can't be faddish. You understand what I'm saying? Spirituality has great respect for humanity, great respect for nature, great respect for all the balance of life that exists on this planet. You understand?
Yes.
To the point to where there's a humility about a person that is spiritual that is heightened many times above most people that are religious. Okay? That's why you can see if you find a person that's truly a spiritualist, they may not attend church, but their life is more clean. They eat healthier. Their mind is healthier because of things they don't allow to come into their mind, things that they don't watch. Okay, hygiene-wise, they're probably healthier. You understand what I'm saying? Educationally, they take in things that enhances their mind, enhances their life. You know, mentally, they meditate. Okay? They do exercises that include breathing, exhaling, inhaling, letting out, breathing in, pushing out, pulling in. They go through all of these different practices that keeps them balanced in the universe, keeps them with a good mental state, good physical state. We can go on and on.
Yes.
So good financial state. So so that becomes a practice. It becomes a way of being. It is what we call, in African context, essence. Okay? It is the ori, the balance of the ori. Okay? The ori in the African is the conscious awareness of everything around you, outside of you, inside of you, that makes you you. Okay? Very, very powerful. Okay? So that would be my definition. Like I said, just going a little bit deeper there, that defines someone that is truly a spiritualist, someone that is truly operating in a awareness of who they are and how they relate to the universe and all things that exist within it. Okay. All right.
All right. We made it shorter tonight because we were a little tardy to the party.
A bit late.
So again, we want to thank those for allowing us to come into your homes, Facebook, YouTube. Please share this video with as many people as you like. And also go to our YouTube channel, Men and Women of Destiny.
Yes,
Men and Women of Destiny.
Yes.
And that's our YouTube channel. Again, we want to thank you so very much for joining us tonight. And we hope that this information has enlightened you. And again, please share with others.
I've got a homework assignment for everybody that will watch.
Okay. Yes.
If you have Netflix, go to Netflix and watch the show or the movie called They Cloned Tyrone. Let me say that again. They Cloned Tyrone. Go to Netflix and watch that. I am going to do an analytical breakdown of that movie on next week's show. But I want everybody to watch it so you can participate with us. It is a very powerful movie. I won't tell you about it, but I'll tell you the foundation of it is understanding how systematically the government influenced black culture and black society. How the engineering of black people was by design So please go watch that Netflix movie. Again, the name of it is They Cloned Tyrone.
And
Okay?
Jamie Foxx is in this movie.
Jamie Foxx stars in this movie. So please go watch that. And like I said, I'm going to do an analytical breakdown, historical breakdown of that movie on next week. But we hope you enjoyed this broadcast as it relates to just talking things, all things spiritual in the black church, and some of the things that we have to do as black people that are in the black church to reestablish the glory of the black church. I believe the glory of the black church can return. I believe that is coming back. And I think we need to be instrumental in making sure that we assist in that glory coming back to the black church. So do your part, and we love you all. We appreciate you. As always, thank you all for watching.
And have a great night and a great week as well. Good night.
Good night.